All right, we are on air. Happy November 2nd, everybody. This meeting is a check-in on tasks related to outreach for Backdrop CMS. First on the agenda is the newsletter. We usually try and send a newsletter at the end of each month, but the end of October was a little crazy for us with Bad Camp and everything else that was going on. So I talked to the folks at Facet last week, and we decided to do our next newsletter around November 15th. And we thought that might make a little more sense going through the holiday season to have fewer emails going out, just in terms of less work for all of us that need to be responsible for coming up with the content and getting it ready and out the door. And also, if we seem like we're thin on content, we didn't think it would be worthwhile to email people about things that weren't important. So on our list for things that we should be emailing people about, we're obviously working on our fiscal agreement with the Free Software Conservancy, Software Freedom Conservancy. And I think last week we got 4 of the 6 signed contracts are in. I have 2 more people I need to follow up with to make sure that those get in too. But it looks like we're not probably going to have that agreement in place by November 15th, but that will be ready by January 1st. So that might be a good, like, starting the new year, here's the new way Backdrop operates kind of announcement anyway. So that could be good timing. So then we were trying to figure out what might be worth announcing to our members in the fall. We had one idea of doing like a Bad Camp review, but I think that might be better served as a blog post than as a newsletter item. And instead, what I think might be really exciting, and we've got to run the timing on this by Doc Wilmot, is that Doc Wilmot has been devoting a bunch of time to work on the Backdrop forum over the last month. And I think that it would be great if we could send a newsletter out that announced that the forum is open. If anyone has any questions, that would be a good place to go and ask them. Or if you want to see what people are talking about, that would be a good place to go. I know when he first started working on it, I got really excited and I went and created a bunch of frequently asked questions just because we get those all the time via the contact form or via people at camps and conferences. And I think getting some good baseline questions in there for people just as information would be a great way to start. And then if people want to have conversations around those topics, they can. But if not, they're just there as a reference too. So people can go and read and don't have to interact. So I'm hoping that if we have a newsletter scheduled at November 15th, that timing will work well for Doc Wilmot in terms of forums, but we need to run that by him first. So I don't know if anyone has any other ideas about contents for the newsletter. I did spend some time with Facet last week looking at our content strategy map and tried to pull out things we thought would be useful. But we figured it would be great to have blog posts that the newsletter could drive people to. And so trying to get that content written, we need to have people who have time to do it. So I think any of those things we could do, but we don't have anything urgent that we need to let anyone know about. So let's go ahead and talk about forums, since that's what's next on the agenda and kind of fits in nicely with our newsletter plan. Doc Wilmot had, I think, about a month of free time that he's offered to devote to working on the forum for us, which is great. He's already worked through all of the list of things that were blockers to getting people to use the forum, with the exception of the bakery module. I don't think that's sorted out yet. And he's now working through the long tail of wish list items that we thought would make a really compelling user experience on the forum. And he's starting to look at modules that exist for Drupal that might need to be ported to Backdrop, or things that we need to build in terms of like user blocks on the Backdrop site. He's done some really fancy integration with Flag module. He's set up email notifications. He's got all the kind of things that he thinks will make it a successful forum going into that new version. So I am really excited that he's got enough time to work on all the stuff going on in the forum. He's also switched the theme to a copy of the Borg theme, which is what we're using at backdropcms.org. And he's updated it slightly so that forum threads and comment threads look a little nicer in that theme. So I think it's looking great. I'm not really sure where we are in terms of the feature list. All I know is that every day I see him doing good work. So for me, just getting through that list of blockers to launch was all that was really necessary to get people on it. But I think he wants it to be a better product than that. So we need to run it by him in terms of figuring out when it's okay to tell people to use it. So I'll do that. I'll follow up with him and figure out if November 15th is a good date. And if so, we can schedule the newsletter around then too.
Cool.
So next up are blog posts. I know we can always do community spotlights for blog posts. I also had an idea of having Jeff write a blog post on Backdrop for Good. I don't know if he did that already. No, maybe not. I saw something. It might have just been the Backdrop for Good website I was looking at. But just something that announces the fact that we have this program and that people can apply for assistance if they have a nonprofit, or people who are interested in working on Backdrop can volunteer to work on it. So that would be a good topic for a blog post. I've also recently gotten a lot of requests from people to see what others are doing with Backdrop, which I think is kind of the, like, how do you decide whether you're going to be using Backdrop for your next project or not? You want to kind of see, well, is there anything out there that's similar to what I'm doing? Or are people doing things that are as complicated as what I'm doing? And I would love to see more people who are working with Backdrop share what it is they're doing, whether that's a blog post with a tag on it, like BW Panda just posted his site, or whether that's a showcase node. I think all of those are valuable. I would love to find out a way to encourage more people to share what they're doing. So I don't know if you guys have any ideas on how we could do that. Like maybe we could promote the showcases to the news page or something. But yeah, maybe in the footer of the next newsletter, we could just put a little paragraph that's like, share what you're doing with Backdrop or something. So if anyone on that list has sites, they can share that. Might be fun. I know Jack is still working on a blog post specifically for the City CRM website, so not on Backdrop site, but on another site. I don't think I got an email out to the folks at PHP Weekly when Backdrop 1.8 came out. I don't know if you guys think it's worthwhile to do that now, but that newsletter goes out every week, I think. So it might be valuable. It's just not timely.
So that would be in PHP Weekly, and then we would link to that publication off our Backdrop website.
Yeah, so we usually link to the release blog post, which is of course no longer the newest one in the news section. It would be ideal if when that newsletter went out, it was the most recent thing. But because that release came out last month, or now a month and a half ago, it's not going to be the most timely. But because we didn't get a link out in that newsletter on September, whatever date it was first week after the 15th, we haven't told anyone that we haven't told the larger PHP community that 1.8 is out. So I'm not sure. There might be a way that we could, I don't know, spin that so that it's not it was released statement so much as a check out the latest version statement or something. I don't know how they feel about that. I can look it up though. Let's see. So other things we're working on, videos. We had someone about 6 months ago, Brian, had offered to help make videos on Backdrop. He then got really busy. I just got an email from him yesterday that said he looked online to see if anyone else had done it and couldn't find anything. And so he now is interested in getting back into doing that again. So I'm going to try and wrangle him to get started on those. But I was also thinking that in terms of making videos, we don't necessarily need to think of these as like long form training videos so much as really quick, like promotional highlight things too would still be valuable. So I was thinking if I just did like a 5-minute video on like, this is my favorite feature this week, that would just kind of help people see like, oh, there's a thing there that Backdrop does that Drupal doesn't do. And I noticed in doing our training at Bad Camp, there were a couple of things that got a lot of really positive reactions from people in the audience who were very familiar with Drupal and were still shocked that Backdrop did these things. Nate, in particular, your copy paste upload trick, I think that would be great. I mean, you could do like a 2-minute video on that where it's like, hey, look, here, paste it out, and then that's it. And then it's still a super compelling video because people can see it. And something that short we can put in Facebook, we can put in Twitter, and it'll catch people's attention too, and just let them know that, you know, Backdrop has cool things going on. So I wanted to do one on status indicator icon because it's been one of my favorite new additions to Backdrop, but there's a lot of good stuff we could do that on. So I made a list in the issue. This is issue number 130 of things that I thought might be good. And then of course, anyone has anything else they think is their favorite feature, we can encourage everyone to do those. Let's see. Events. So the next event that's happening is the Nonprofit Developer Conference. Forget the dates, so I'm just looking those up real quick. Is that it? Yeah. November 15th, 16th, and 17th. And that's here in Oakland, California, which is super convenient for all of us in the Bay Area, maybe not so convenient for those of you who aren't. But it's a very different kind of conference. There are no slides allowed. Everyone just has to kind of speak from the heart and share experiences. And there's a lot of collaboration that goes on there and a lot of sort of collecting information from people with feedback in particular areas. And it's something that Nate and I have been to 2 years in a row now, and we always get a lot out of it. So I think I'm really looking forward to attending this conference and would encourage anyone else who's in the nonprofit space or in the developer space to consider attending that one as well, especially if you're here in the Oakland area. And then there's a couple of other camps, Drupal Camp Florida, which I think is going to be in January or February. Sand Camp, which is a Drupal camp in San Diego, is now in March. And all of these things are starting to kind of emerge as the next camps that people might be interested in attending. I think they're all interested in supporting Backdrop. So we'll try and get those information about those posted on the backdropcms.org website. That's definitely places where people who are interested in learning about Backdrop or interested in sharing about Backdrop could go to meet other like-minded folks. Yeah, I think that's all that's imminent. Let's see, next on the list is swag. So we got new stickers in time for Bad Camp, just more dragons and more Backdrop logo stickers. If anyone is going to be attending an event sometime soon and they want to hand out stickers, let us know. We can send you a bunch beforehand. And then we were also thinking if we have an event at a conference, like we had a Backdrop summit, sometimes we do Backdrop trainings, it might be useful to have a pop-up banner. We're going to need help designing such a thing. So if anyone has any experience designing pop-up banners, we could use some help in that area. Not urgent, nice to have, not necessary, but we definitely would appreciate some help there. All right.
Before we,
go ahead.
Oh, I guess we got the other ideas section, and this is related to swag. So regarding some of these other camps, like Sand Camp or Drupal Camp Florida, this might be a harebrained idea, but I was thinking that potentially we could ask those camps if we could essentially set up if we could set up a booth in the same way that like a sponsor might, but perhaps without us paying. I'm not quite sure how that would swing, because other people, that's where camps are financed, is through selling things like sponsored tables. But I feel like I frequently end up in the situations where people want to talk to us about Backdrop, but sometimes we can be a little bit hard to locate. And also, like, we have a fair amount of swag that we could distribute, and we're seeing at Bad Camp, everybody rocking their Backdrop hoodies from years and events previous. Made me think, I was like, wow, people really like this stuff. That they're wearing it a year in after having purchased it, the previous Bad Camp. That maybe giving people an opportunity or a location where they could find us and get swag or talk to us about Backdrop would be a really great thing.
Yeah, I don't think it would be appropriate to ask any camp for giving away something that they usually sell.
Yeah.
But I do think that if we were interested in advertising to Drupal people, and that's a moral question of what we want to be doing, it would be reasonable to approach camps about sponsoring at whatever level is enough to get a table.
Mm-hmm.
And that would give us the opportunity to actually have a booth set up, which might be good, or it's more work for figuring out how to do it, but it might be good for visibility purposes. It would give us a place to have somebody sit there and run a demo. It would be a good place to give out the swag, as you mentioned, and also just have a dissemination of information from a clear vantage point. It's just we need to figure out how we feel about what that looks like to be advertising alternative software at a Drupal event.
Right.
And I think that a lot of camps would totally be open to that. We just need to figure out if that's what we want to do or not. And initially, when we talked about it, we were being very careful not to feel like we were advertising. But a year in, I feel a little different. Like, we go to the camp, we carry the bag around, we hand out the stuff anyway. Like, what's the difference? At least if we're in a booth, the camp can say, no, we don't want you, if they don't want it. And if they're okay with it, then I don't know.
Well, if you're a sponsor, that means you're supporting the camp, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as ethically, you're supporting their camp. What's wrong with being there as a presence?
Yeah, I think it will be up to every camp to decide whether they want that or not. I think it would be weird if WordPress came and set up a booth at a Drupal event and they're like, come use our software instead. Even if they are supporting the camp, it feels a little odd. It's a little different with Backdrop because we're kind of mostly the same, but it is competing software. So.
Yeah. Well, it was just an idea, and I think you're right that especially asking for it for free wouldn't be kosher.
Yeah, especially right now when a lot of camps are struggling for funding because there are so many camps and so few sponsors. Trying to take away something that they actually can sell, I think, is tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is nice that maybe I don't notice it anymore, but I really think that animosity towards Backdrop has really dropped off. I think that we've been carrying ourselves in kind of an appropriate way, and we've been doing, we've made it clear what our mission is, and now that Drupal has kind of decided on its audience, and it's not the same audience that we're going after, I feel really like people really understand where Backdrop is coming from. So it is nice that, well, maybe I should just say, let's not screw that up. Let's not start doing things that make people go, I don't know about those Backdrop people. So, okay. So anyway, I like it when I toss out ideas and it's just nope, that's a bad idea. Or
it's not a bad idea. It's definitely worth evaluating, and especially because people have had a hard time finding us, I think it's a valid thing to bring up, where it's like, how can we make it easier for people to talk about Backdraft? I'm not sure sponsorship is the way to do it. I think like maybe if we know that someone who is very involved in Backdraft is going to be at any particular event, like setting up an activity or a time where you could be like, hey, you know, we're all going to go to dinner on Thursday night or whatever it is, might be good, and to make some publicity around that particular event. So it's not the entire camp, right? Where it's not like we're going to be here advertising to everyone. It's like, hey, if you know you're interested in Backdraft, you've got questions, you want to see it, whatever, come hang out with us.
I was thinking the magic phrase is birds of a feather, right? Like you could set up a BOF space, and that sort of plugs into that difference between, you know, a session and a booth where it can be all day, and just, you know, to have that sort of thing, but on sort of a low level back burner kind of, you know, give and take, who wants it kind of feeling.
Yeah, not all camps have BOFs, but that is a good option. Like if there are, or even using a BOF to promote like a dinner or something, right? Where like if you're not going to hang out after the camp, that's fine. You still come, you talk to us at the BOF, but then say like, hey, if you guys have more questions, you can make it stretch all day, right? You can kind of fill that in. So I think that's a great idea too.
Well, and I agree with Nate as far as Drupal making a differentiation between itself and its intended audience and who your intended audience is. I think it's not blurry as much as it was at one point. That, yeah, it seems like Dries has made a statement that's pretty much made its way around as far as who they're going after, what types of sites they want to grow, and what sites that you're trying to grow are two almost distinct audiences, Drupal 8 and Backdraft.
Yep. Which actually, in a way, I think is starting to affect camp audiences a bit. That and maybe, you know, it'll actually affect the audience of you know, who goes to all Drupal events. Is that you'll start getting that kind of you know, the target audience of Drupal will be the people that attend these camps, which in a way makes it increasingly like perhaps fewer people at those camps that we would be interested in marketing to.
But the opposite could be true too, that a camp might be interested in preserving the audience of the medium and smaller size, and that would bring in more people to their camp.
Yep, that's also true. And I think that historically has been the kind of people that attend camps versus the larger conferences that then become like the professional you know, things. It's like the, you know, global or North American DrupalCons are much more in the enterprise space than the camps are, which are typically made up of people, you know, volunteers, people that are passionate, just people that are doing it because they really like it. Not saying that those people can't be, you know, there can't be an intersection of people that are both passionate and professional, but it does seem to be like our pool of passionate people typically comes from people that are like doing this not just for work. Because
the original idea, it would be nice to have the opportunity at camps for people to seek backdrop information out easily. I think that's the gist of what you're getting at.
Exactly.
It's really going head-to-head competitive. It's just competition. It's just, you know, here we are, not limited to a single engagement.
Yeah, I mean, there might be we might be in a lull in some sense though, because there's an inflection point in the future when, if, you know, Drupal 9 ever ships and they you know, follow through with the plan to drop support for Drupal 7, at that point there's going to be just this, you know, again, if that happens, when that happens, there's going to be this huge source of work and organizations and people that are invested in the classic Drupal architecture that no longer have any other play. You know, Backdrop at that point becomes their only recourse.
Or maybe the best option. That's what I've been pitching. Okay, cool.
They're only supported recourse, right? Like the only thing that's not like, you know, you're on your own.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there anything else? Any other ideas that we want to throw out there as far as outreach or ways that we can spread the word about Backdrop?
I did want to ask one question regarding the videos themselves. Are we sharing a channel for that, or are these going to be on disparate channels, YouTube channels?
So we have a YouTube channel, and what we have been doing is if somebody else makes a video, oh, we should do this. I think Laren has made a bunch of great videos too. We want to put them on the Backdrop channel. So they can be created by anyone on YouTube, and then we just kind of filter them in and be like, here are videos that you need to watch sort of on the Backdrop channel.
Yeah, how does that end up showing up? Isn't it like we like, it's kind of like Facebook kind of concept where we like share it onto our timeline? Isn't that the way that works?
I think you can, I think it's tag it. Let me see.
Well, I was just curious, if I made one, would I then just upload it to my personal channel, or should I send the, or post the, because I use like Camtasia to do the training videos that I make.
Yeah, and you can post to YouTube, and then if you let us know somehow, we can pull it into our feed.
Yeah, I know we have a playlist called Featured Presentations, but that's not quite the same thing as being in our channel.
Sorry.
Well, I don't need to know right now
Sometimes
what the protocol.
Just our point.
It's funny now, like I'm looking at YouTube and there's like the screenshot of myself talking wearing this same t-shirt. Video inception.
Yeah, I'll figure that out. I don't know where. I know Laren's made a bunch of really great videos recently. I found them on via Twitter and like favorited the tweets. But I don't know if the videos are on YouTube or not, but I'll try and find them again and see if we can pull those in to our channel somehow. And then once we know that works, we can.
And on another question, next week we'll have a design meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, Jen, don't worry about that right now.
Okay.
What the best way to do it was.
Yeah, I'll find it and figure it out. And then, yeah, I have a feeling we've tried this before and we've pulled videos in from other channels and it's been fine. I just don't remember technically how it's done.
Okay.
All right, is there anything else we should talk about for outreach? Nope. Okay, well, if anyone has any great outreach ideas, let us know. Otherwise, let's go ahead and wrap this meeting, and then we will start again in about 15 minutes for Backdrop Dev meeting. Thanks, guys, for joining.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
See ya.